Hey there, amazing friends. I warmly invite you to join me on this exciting journey by subscribing to my channel, liking, commenting, and sharing my videos. Every like, comment, and share brings us closer together and fuels my passion to create more great content. Your support truly makes all the difference. Thank you for being the heart of this community. The Maze Within, twisted psychological cases that challenge our understanding of sanity. Deep within the labyrinth of the human mind, there exists a maze of shadows, secrets, and split realities, places where the line between sanity and madness blurs into a shifting, often terrifying haze. For centuries, psychologists, criminologists, and even paranormal investigators have grappled with cases that defy explanation, where ordinary lives fracture into twisted puzzles. This is a journey into that murky terrain, a narrative woven from true accounts and hard-to-believe testimonies that challenge everything we assume about the nature of mental stability. It all began, as many such stories do, with subtle hints of a profound dissonance, a seemingly insignificant slip of memory, a fleeting moment of inexplicable terror. Consider the case of Jonathan Reeves, a well-respected teacher in a small Midwestern town whose life, on the surface, seemed exemplary. Jonathan was known for his gentle manner, his warm smile, and his dedication to his students. Yet, over time, those who knew him began to notice a disturbing transformation. At first, it was small lapses in concentration and occasional moments when his eyes glazed over as if he were staring into an unseen void. Then came the whispers. Jonathan claimed that he heard voices at night, soft, insistent murmurs that urged him to wander through endless corridors inside his own mind. These voices, he said, were like echoes from a long-forgotten past, a secret maze within him that he could neither escape nor fully understand. One autumn evening, as the wind howled outside his modest home and the trees cast long, contorted shadows on his walls, Jonathan disappeared for hours. When he finally returned, his face was ashen, and he muttered incoherently about the labyrinth behind the mirror and the wailing of lost souls. His colleagues were horrified, and even his closest friends began to fear for his sanity. Medical professionals diagnosed him with severe dissociative episodes, but Jonathan's own journal entries hinted at something far more cryptic, a world within that had invaded his waking life. His story set the stage for a series of cases that would shake the foundation of our understanding of the human mind. Not long after Jonathan's unsettling breakdown, another case emerged from the rainy streets of a European city. Isabelle Fournier, a young art curator known for her vibrant creativity and delicate sensibilities, started experiencing vivid hallucinations that defied explanation. In her dreams, she found herself trapped in an endless maze of mirrors. Every reflection seemed to carry a different version of herself, some smiling benignly, others weeping in silent agony. At night, as she struggled to sleep, Isabelle began to hear a soft, rhythmic tapping, as if someone or something was pacing just beyond the edge of her consciousness. The tapping grew louder over time, until it evolved into an unending chant, a mantra of sorrow that filled her nights with dread. She described waking up in a cold sweat, convinced that the mirrors in her apartment were watching her, their surfaces rippling with images of a twisted reality. Despite multiple therapies and even experimental treatments, Isabelle's condition worsened, leaving her isolated and haunted by the ceaseless echo of phantom voices. Her case, documented by a small team of independent researchers, became a cornerstone for discussions on the boundaries between dreams and waking life, suggesting that sometimes the mind creates corridors that lead to realms where grief and madness converge. Then there was the enigmatic case of Marcus Delgado, a former soldier whose return from war left him with scars both visible and hidden. Marcus had always been a man of action, a disciplined individual who had weathered the chaos of combat with stoic determination. Yet, after his service, he began to experience episodes of extreme paranoia. He would lock himself in his small apartment for days on end, convinced that unseen forces were orchestrating a conspiracy against him. One night, as he sat in near total darkness with only a single lamp casting eerie shadows on the walls, Marcus suddenly claimed that the very air around him had transformed into a shifting maze. He described the sensation as though the room had multiplied into infinite corridors, each lined with doors that led to impossible spaces. In these episodes, time and space lost all meaning. The lamp's glow seemed to waver, and in its flickering light, he saw spectral figures moving in and out of the darkness, faces twisted with anguish and eyes pleading for salvation. The intensity of these experiences left him in a state of perpetual fear, as if his own mind had betrayed him, trapping him within a labyrinth from which there was no escape. His case raised profound questions. Could the trauma of war fracture the boundaries of the mind so completely? Were these visions a manifestation of post-traumatic stress taken to a surreal extreme, or did they hint at something more metaphysical, a glimpse into a dimension where the psyche is unmoored from physical reality? While Jonathan, Isabelle, and Marcus represented individual journeys into the abyss of a troubled mind, their stories resonated with a broader pattern observed in a handful of other perplexing cases. In a quiet village on the outskirts of the Scottish Highlands, a middle-aged librarian named Fiona MacLeod began experiencing what she described as the maze within. Fiona, a gentle soul with an unquenchable thirst for literature, found that the books she once loved now spoke in voices that only she could hear. Each night, as she meticulously organized the dusty shelves of the ancient library where she worked, she would catch snippets of conversation between the characters, whispers that were not written on any page, murmurs that seemed to emanate from the very walls of the building. Soon, the whispers grew into coherent, albeit cryptic sentences that hinted at long-buried secrets of the village's past. Fiona became obsessed with these messages, spending sleepless nights deciphering their meaning. She began to believe that the library itself was a living entity, a repository of the collective memories and tragedies of generations. Her deteriorating mental state, marked by episodes of confusion and eerie calm, unsettled everyone around her. Despite the best efforts of local doctors and counselors, Fiona's condition defied all conventional diagnoses, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions about the true nature of memory, perception, and the fragile construct of sanity. As these cases accumulated, a pattern emerged, a twisted maze within the minds of ordinary people, where trauma, isolation, and the haunting echoes of unspoken truths created corridors that defied logic. Researchers began to wonder if these experiences were isolated instances of extreme psychological breakdown, or if they hinted at a more universal phenomenon, the idea that the human mind, when pushed to its limits, might open doorways to realms that challenge our conventional understanding of reality. Some theorists posited that these hallucinations and dissociative episodes were not simply manifestations of stress or mental illness, but rather a deep-seated evolutionary echo, a cry from our ancestral past when the boundaries between the physical and spiritual were much thinner. In ancient times, shamans and mystics claimed to journey into inner realms, encountering beings and visions that shaped their understanding of life and death. Perhaps in modern times, under the weight of relentless stress and isolation, the human psyche reverts to these archaic modes of perception, blurring the lines between imagination and experience. In hushed academic circles, debates raged on about the nature of these twisted psychological mazes. Neuroscientists argued that advanced imaging techniques revealed unusual neural patterns in individuals like Jonathan, Isabelle, Marcus, and Fiona, patterns that did not conform to any known disorder. These patterns suggested a sort of circuitry override, where the brain's normal filters faltered, allowing repressed memories and primal fears to flood in unchecked. Some even suggested that, in such states, the mind might be tapping into a collective unconscious, a reservoir of shared human experience that is as ancient as our species itself. While skeptics dismiss these ideas as fanciful interpretations of clinical data, the sheer number of similar cases across different cultures and time periods lent an eerie consistency to the phenomenon. What makes these stories so compelling is not merely the shock of seeing a gentle soul unravel into madness, but the profound mystery of what lies at the very core of human consciousness. The maze within, as these cases illustrate, is not a fixed structure, but a shifting, ever-changing landscape. It is a place where fear and hope intertwine, where the ghosts of our past, both personal and collective, can emerge in vivid detail. Each case is a mirror reflecting the inner turmoil of an individual, a silent testament to the fragility of sanity in a world that often demands too much of us. And while the horrors these individuals face are deeply personal, they resonate with a universal truth that the human mind is a vast, uncharted territory, full of hidden corridors and secret passages that we have yet to fully understand. For those of us who listen to these tales, there is both terror and a strange, reluctant admiration. How can ordinary people, the very ones we trust to lead our daily lives, be driven to such extremes? Is it merely the result of modern pressures, a relentless barrage of noise, isolation, and unspoken expectations? Or is there something more ancient at work, a dormant part of our psyche that awakens when pushed too far? Perhaps the answer lies in the interplay of memory, trauma, and the subtle power of suggestion. The more we probe into these cases, the more we realize that sanity is not a fixed state, but a spectrum, a delicate balance that can tip into madness with the slightest prod. As you listen to this tale of the maze within, allow yourself to wander through the dark corridors of the mind. Picture a quiet teacher, a sensitive curator, a battle-worn soldier, or a gentle librarian, each one caught in the grip of unseen forces that twist their thoughts and blur the line between reality and nightmare. Imagine the quiet terror of waking from a dream, only to find that the dream has followed you into the daylight, haunting your every step, leaving you to question whether what you experienced was a product of your own mind or a window into a realm beyond our control. These stories remind us that beneath the surface of everyday life, there lies a complexity of emotion and experience that is as beautiful as it is terrifying. In the end, the twisted psychological cases that challenge our understanding of sanity are not simply tales of horror. They are mirrors reflecting the profound depths of human vulnerability. They compel us to ask difficult questions. How much of our perception is shaped by our own fears? Can the mind, when pushed to its limits, become a portal to a shared realm of ancient memories and primal instincts? And if so, what does that say about our collective journey as a species? Perhaps the true horror lies not in the acts committed by those who lose their grip on reality, but in the quiet realization that we all walk a fine line between order and chaos, a maze within that each of us must navigate, often in solitude. So, as you listen to this narrative, let it be both a warning and an invitation. A warning that the human mind is a fragile, labyrinthine construct capable of harboring nightmares that defy explanation, and an invitation to look inward, to acknowledge that within each of us lies a maze of emotions and memories waiting to be understood. For in the unending search for clarity, we may yet discover that the path to sanity is paved with both light and shadow, and that sometimes the most twisted corridors lead us to the most profound truths about who we are.